You are tuned in and listening to Bat Talk with Sharona. I'm your host. My name is Sharona. This is Down and Dirty. This is episode 4 of Down and Dirty. This is my opportunity to go solo dolo and just chat with you guys about some things that are on my mind, whether it's sports or entertainment or music or what have you. We haven't talked much about music lately. We're going to change that. There was a very interesting article about Future that I don't read MTV News enough, and I need to correct that and make sure I do better about that. It was really interesting and very good. I want to talk about that. We'll have to do that, excuse me, on a regular podcast. Get someone to come on, maybe a music person to come on and help us have that discussion. It was fascinating. I'm probably not as big a fan of Future and his music as I should be. I talk about Kanye on this show some, and it was, and of course he's touring right now with Drake, and it's an interesting time in rap and hip hop. We'll have to have that discussion though another time. What we're going to talk about this morning is the Rio Olympics. And if time permits, we will maybe touch upon some other things. There's a lot going on in that I want to start with Gabby Douglas and the coverage of the Olympics. It's been interesting. I haven't had an opportunity to really pay as much attention as I would like to when you're working and doing other things, it's impossible. But fortunately, I've been able to catch some of it. The women have been absolutely fantastic. They have represented the United States well. The United States, the medals, and it's not just the women. We like to talk about women on this show. I am a woman, and it's important, I think, to give women accolades and to talk about these things, because unfortunately we still live in a day and time when the coverage could be a lot better. It's interesting. Certain old-fashioned, misogynistic, if you will, sexist viewpoints are still prevalent and are still. This is why it's so important to diversify newsrooms, to diversify media organizations. If we have time, we'll talk. NBC, who has the broadcast rights to the Olympics, really has some quite interesting thoughts about women, about its coverage, and we'll talk about that too on another show. But as I was watching, doing various things last night, and watching social media, we like to talk about how we talk about things on this show. That I think it's important to pay attention to those things. And I was watching social media and wasn't able to watching social media, and I began to see some criticism of Gabby Douglas, and I was like, oh Lord, what is it now? Because she's endured quite a bit of criticism throughout her career, and she is a gymnast competing in the Olympics at the age of 20, which sounds young until you consider that most gymnasts are younger than that, and that she is still competing, at age 20, and still able, to be as good and as dominant as she is very much a testament to her not just to her athletic ability, but her work ethic and to her determination. And there are a lot of accolades that we could add as well. But, as these things tend to happen, when you're the first in anything, and one of the first to do some of the things that she has done. When you're the first, you do get super scrutinized. There's no question about that. You get super scrutinized, and she's learned the hard way that with that scrutiny comes a lot of criticism, some warranted, a lot of it unwarranted. And my heart really goes out to her. I hope I'm going to get choked up and start crying, because I just want to hug her. It's so sad to watch, to watch these things and to see how people feel free to, to act toward, a young woman, 20 years old, and particularly a young woman of color who is breaking barriers in. The criticism has definitely been racially tinged. That might actually be an understatement. But a lot of it too has had, unfortunately, misogynistic overtones, and none more so than what happened, how things went down last night. And she did an interview after some of the backlash occurred, and it really was just heartbreaking to read about it, and to and to know that she's been hurt so deeply because of it. And by the way, I completely and utterly disagree with anyone who says that she should not have shared her feelings. Shame on you, young woman, for discussing her feelings. I mean, you can completely and utterly miss me with your bullshit. It is important for us to understand what effect our actions have on someone. If we don't humanize these things, we're never, ever going to get to a point where things are better. Now, certainly, try to troll her or whatever, because she did share that she was bothered by some of the criticism. That those people are awful people, and there's nothing that you're ever going to do to probably to change them. But I want to believe that we are all capable of change, that we are, or most of us, maybe not all of us, but there is somewhere within us the capacity to change our thoughts, to change our beliefs, to understand, because someone has this discussion with us, to understand that our actions are hurtful, to understand exactly what it means to to someone when you say awful things to them on Twitter, on Facebook, or whatever. years old. This was hard for her. One of the hardest things for me was watching her talk about how she, and this reporter talking about how she kept looking, at her phone and looking at her social media, just to read these things. And it's really easy to say, oh, she shouldn't have done that. She should just put her phone away. She should just do this. I mean, so she should not act like everybody else. She has to be, I mean, we all do that, right? We're all on our phones. If it's funny because I was watching some preseason football over the weekend, and every time if you watch the cameras span the audience anywhere, whether it's a sporting event, a political rally, what have you. You see people on their phones. I mean, this is who we are now. We are very much a phone generation, and everybody's on their phone. And but it was hard to watch that she in a way couldn't put it down. But on the other hand, I can completely understand it, because we are so glued to our cell phones, tablets, whatever you utilize to stay connected to to your friends, to the world, to things that are going on in the world. And that part of it was hard, but I think it's important for her. And I think that speaking personally, I desire to share how that impacted her, because you do. And because I've had similar excuse me, similar thoughts and similar desires. And this podcast, for the most part, arises out of the need to talk about these things and to share how certain, and to share how as a woman I view certain things. And I really, we seem to live in an environment of stifling of speech that that we disagree with, or certainly there is a way to disagree, and to share your feelings, and to disagree with someone else. And I know in the past I've failed in that regard. And you become aware of these things and you try to do better. It's interesting. We talk about this on the show quite a bit. And I think it's important that you recognize and understand that there definitely is a hive mind mentality when it comes to media, when it comes to online communities. One person does something and another person does it. And unfortunately, I think that we tend to get caught up in those things. And it, social media and these kinds of communities, they can make you a better person, but they can also make you a worse person. And it's important to to make sure that the people that you surround yourself with and that you associate with are the kind of people that uplift you. And I made a very concerted effort a few years ago to remove toxicity from all of my social media accounts. And I'd like to think that I've been a much better person because of it. We all fall into this habit of, we want to be popular, we want to be liked, we want retweets, we want likes. I mean, it's sort of that kind of world, but we can't let those things dictate what we are, because a lot of times the people who say, the most toxic and disgusting and awful things are the ones that get that, that kind of attention. And so you have to be careful. But, I understand her wanting to share those thoughts and share those emotions, and good for her for doing that. I bet it was cathartic for her to speak out to her haters and to speak out to those who were very look, I'm a woman. I'm a human. I don't deserve to be treated that way. She should stick up for herself, and I'm so proud of her for doing that. But it's interesting because I think at least some of the criticism perhaps was well intentioned. And oh, sorry, never ever pull up. Okay, I had to. Sorry about the video, autoplay video. I was trying to pull up Dan Wetzel's article, and I had to exit out of that because if you do that on your website, screw you. I can't use them when I'm on the air. It's awful. Please quit doing that. It makes me not ever, ever, ever want to visit your web pages, Yahoo. So anyway, Dan Wetzel, I think, wrote a well-intentioned article about Gabby Douglas, and but there was to him on Twitter and asked him about it. I didn't get a response. Open invitation to Dan Wetzel if he wants to, have this conversation with me. But I don't understand how he thinks Gabby Douglas, in any shape, form, or fashion, brought some of this on herself. The article talked about how, how fakey fake, a lot of these sporting events in particular, and specifically, let's be clear here, specifically women's gymnastics, because we don't have these conversations when it comes to men. Men aren't super criticized for not smiling. Men aren't super criticized for their looks, for their hair, for their lipstick, for their demeanor. Michael Phelps can scowl and wear a hoodie, and that picture is super okay and becomes a meme, and everybody loves Michael Phelps for not smiling and scowling and being, Mr. Grouchy Grouch. But Gabby Douglas doesn't put her hand on her heart or doesn't smile or doesn't cheer, and suddenly things wrong. I mean, please miss me with that. Women don't have to smile for your pleasure all the time. We're human beings. We have emotions. We have feelings. I'm so sick of this whole fake thing when it comes to women, that we have to be nice all the time, that we have to smile all the time, that we have to be pretty all the time. Sit down and look pretty, little lady. No, we're human beings. We have a wide range of emotions, and we should be able to express those. Okay? I don't think Gabby Douglas did a damn thing wrong. And I wish everybody would just recognize that she is a human being and that she does have feelings, and that maybe the problem is you, not her. But this certainly isn't the only area where you see and sexism become a thing or be a thing when it comes to the Olympics. Speaking of Michael Phelps, and I'll go back and retweet some of these things after we get done. We're only going to go about 30 minutes today. We try to do these things short. The regular shows, sorry, my allergies are messed up this morning. The regular shows are longer, but this one is a short show. So, and I'll go back and read what's left. And I have to talk about a couple of things. The first thing that was, speaking of Michael Phelps, there was a major headline in a newspaper. Now because I don't remember which woman. It was probably Katie Ledecky that they were talking about. But anyway, Michael Phelps failed to gold medal in event. I think he only got like the silver. And Katie Ledecky did gold medal in the event. And the newspaper headline was Michael Phelps fails to gold, basically. I'm paraphrasing badly. And then in littler letters, smaller letters underneath, woman does medal, but she's not as worthy of being the big headline, despite the fact that her accomplishment was far greater. It was the man who didn't medal, gold medal, who who got the accolades. It was I mean, these things are just so infuriating. It's infuriating that, I mean, and that made it past multiple levels. you know, levels, and nobody was like, "Yo, maybe we should might maybe put the woman first. You know, she's the one who meddled. Why can't she be the big, bold typeface? You know, but no, we have to confine her to the lesser position. Why? Because she's a woman. That's it. The answer. Because she's a woman, she gets the lesser billing, and it's women experience. You know, I mean, you see it in Hollywood. You see it so many different places. It's crazy that this is still a thing. How is this still a thing? How did this make it past multiple, multiple views, and nobody, thought? And it's because we don't have enough diversity. We just simply do not in editing and in the higher levels, and that's got to change. I said on Twitter last night, clearly NBC, the media execs at NBC don't have enough women around them because they have no clue whatsoever about women. None. And then you get to let's talk about the BBC. We'll finish up with this. I have to talk about this. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Let me pull this up. And we did a whole show on Friday talking about Gawker and the sale and what have you. And of course, I'm looking at Jezebel because you guys know how much I adore some of the Gawker sub blogs. So anyway, I'm looking at. I'll tweet this out when we get through talking about it. There was a woman competing for. Let's see. She is a Chinese diver, and she was competing in the Olympics, and she won a silver medal. Good for her. What an amazing accomplishment to win a silver medal in the 2016 Rio Olympics. After she got that accomplishment, her boyfriend proposed to her and gave her a diamond ring, which is a wonderful thing. If you look at her face, well, I don't know. If you look at her face, she's like, okay, great thing. I'm sure that they are very much in love, and I'm sure that this was wonderful. But the BBC, in response to this, said Chinese diver He Z had just received a silver medal, and that her boyfriend proposed afterwards, and that was the even bigger prize. And I just can't even, I just can't. Listen. This woman has trained her whole life, has competed in an untold amount of competitions, has worked her butt off, this pinnacle of her career, and that she won a silver medal is a huge thing. It's something that no one will ever be away from her. It's something, that is an amazing accomplishment. Now, getting married is important too to a lot of women, not to everyone. Not everyone wants. It can be a great thing. Not all marriages last. Sometimes, you realize that you've made a mistake, and roughly about 50% of marriages, don't work out. But, that's a nice moment too. Why can't it just be that it's, a touching ending to her greatest accomplishment. The I mean, it's almost like, and it did remind me of, all right, little lady, nice medal. Now get your ass back in the kitchen and cook me some food. You know, relegating her back to that domestic aspect. It took, and we're still fighting against that. And women are still fighting against that perception that we still belong in the kitchen and that we don't belong. I mean, this whole thing that we've been talking about is emblematic of it. And maybe she does feel like she's, I mean, maybe she does feel like that's more important. I suspect not. Maybe she feels like it's as important. Not now that, okay, you know. But it's just ridiculous that we're still having these discussions on August the 15th in the year of our Lord 2016. you know, that what accomplishments the greatest thing that can ever happen to a woman. When we still have these attitudes, and I can't say this enough. It's because we don't have enough diversity in media rooms. We don't have, I'm assuming that there was no woman by there to go. John or whoever it was, I don't know. Maybe, but and to to present point of view, and let's not even, we'll have to devote another show to how we react when women do speak up and who do point out these things, because believe me, you pay for it. You pay for speaking up, you pay for speaking out, you pay for wanting to make sure the conversation is level and not not overtly racist or misogynistic or what have you. And we still live in interesting times, and I don't know. I just have questions and opinions, and Gabby, you are an amazing young woman, and you have nothing whatsoever to apologize for. You've represented the United States in stellar fashion, and I'm so proud of you. So I know it's hard. Believe me, I know it's hard. So ignore the haters and celebrate the amazing accomplishments that that you were able to experience. And I wish you all the best in whatever you choose to do in your future. And there's just not enough words for how proud I am of all the women who competed in the Olympics and who represented their respective countries so well. We didn't get an opportunity to talk about the story about the German, I believe it was a volleyball player, and the woman wearing Muslim dress. We'll have to do that because I spent so much time on Gabby, but I had so much to say about that. Well, maybe on Thursday we'll talk about that. If we're fortunate enough to do a Thursday show, we'll talk about, that event too. But that's it for today. 30 minutes. You've been listening to Bat Talk with Sharona, Down and Dirty, episode 4. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back on Wednesday with the main show, with the main podcast, Bat Talk with Sharona. Going to be sitting down and chit-chatting with Daniel Seahorn tonight. So we'll have some college football talk. We'll talk about Kevin Sumlin. We'll talk about some of the things that are going on in college sports. And we'll be back on Friday. Have a great day.